Here it is. All right, we are live. So, welcome. Welcome to our bi-monthly or no, bi-weekly, what do you call it? Bi-weekly, every 2 weeks it's bi-weekly, right? Women's Wisdom Circle. And I'm welcoming Bridget from New Zealand, for whom it is already the next day. It's 7 in the morning. And Michelle in Idaho, in the US, and I am in France. So it's like we are representative of the world, and we might have a few other people join us late. And here we have Fiona joining us.
Hello. Hi, everyone.
Okay, and Vivian in California. Oh, all right. So here the circle is becoming almost not complete, but fulfilling itself. And I just wanted to, well, I just mentioned a moment ago before Michelle had joined a little earlier that I always have this kind of performance anxiety before I open up the circle, you know, like for a few hours before. And what I realized, because I've really been conducting this experiment over the last, what is it now, almost 5 weeks, where I do follow the promptings of my soul. I mean, what I'm being guided to work on, and not, or to do what brings me joy, and not what I think that I should be doing. So when I'm sharing this performance anxiety, that is a remnant of that old ego self that I am working at transforming in my own life, which has still the temptation to judge myself, you know, and to compare myself and to judge myself. So I just wanted to kind of give myself the space by acknowledging it. And also, I think we should kind of I'm doing a lot of can you going on? Are you hearing that ringing everywhere, or is it just me on my side?
No, I hear it too. I'm sorry, it's my, I was on 2 different devices, so.
Oh, okay. I'm muting you now, Vivian, okay? Because
it's fine.
You know, okay. You know, sorry, okay? I just couldn't talk, and I'm welcoming Heidi also from Italy, and joined us from Finland. Welcome.
Hello. Hi.
Hello. And I was just about to say that the new moon today is a new moon in Leo, and Leo is all about self-expression. And somehow pursuing my experiment, and I've shared that on the last few Hangouts, where I was following the promptings of my soul and clearing those old have-tos and shoulds, and working on the business side of things, when really and then I would judge myself and compare myself because I still have not accomplished what somebody else has, etc. So I've kind of totally dropped out of that mode in the last little while. And today, in that new moon energy, what I have really experienced is a sense of really now, let me look at some of those papers that I had put completely aside to give myself space and to listen into really what is so for me, and what is that space of self-love, rather than critical self-judgment, which always feels it hasn't done enough. So what I felt today emerging is like really looking back at some of the stuff that I had written, some of the visions that I had written, you know, in January, and then a few others a little bit later on. And I was actually very surprised to see that it all had to do with emerging that sense of peace from inside. And not really, I mean, those intentions were set a long time ago, a few months ago, and then it emerged in the solstice because I had been disappointed by something I was working on that didn't turn out the way I wanted it to turn out. So I chose at that moment to just drop everything and to focus on what was emerging from within. And today I was guided to listen to a movie that Jennifer McLean, and some of you might have received it also. She does always those seasons, Healing with the Masters, and then every year she has some other stuff, you know. And this year she had a movie, and I was listening to that movie, and there is a few, you know, a few quotes there that I heard. It's like Joe Dispenza was sharing. He said, "Our purpose in life isn't to be successful, to please God, to do things right, to be popular, beautiful, but it is to remove the masks, the layers, the habits that block the flow of the divine essence within." And so I thought that is really so right, and so much in line with what my experience has been in the last 5 weeks, where I really gave myself permission, probably for the first time, to follow what I wanted, what gave me joy from within, and what brought that sense of of peace and joy that I wanted to do. And it had nothing to do with doing something outside that would create the business aspect, etc., etc. So it was really like a very I mean, it was a validation for me when I was hearing those things, you know. And then, of course, you know, at times I fall into the, well, you're doing a lot of navel gazing. But if you don't have self-knowledge, and if you don't know those areas where you still have weaknesses, this is what I'm identifying, all the areas where I have weaknesses and where I then fall back into my ego, and I'm losing my connection to myself and my higher guidance. And a number of the programs I've been guided to listen to or to participate in had to do with clearing that that allegiance that we have to outside authority, or to the ancient gods that we have kind of admired or loved, and you know, and become that own authority, become that soul authority, coming from that essence that we are, our own authority, and it's the way to express our own message is going to be different, even though it might be the same message for everybody of us. Each of us might have the same message, but said very differently, very uniquely. And I think it is really a must that we dare express that message in our own voice and come together to kind of bring that mosaic of voices, of feminine voices, that have something to contribute right now. Because in that same video that I listened today, there was also Jean Houston. I've done many trainings with Jean Houston, and what she was saying is that the most important thing in the last event, in the last 5,000 years, is the emergence of women's voices in the world right now as equal to men. And so there is something about ourselves coming together as as women, all of us in a certain age, because we are not the youngest at that point, but we have something to contribute and to share. So I just wanted to kind of listen in and see what you have to say to what is emerging for you on that topic, or whatever topic is emerging for you. Because again, I'm just sharing what is present for me, but it could be the conversation can go anywhere. That's what I want to say,
Yeah.
So perhaps maybe just doing a short little centering meditation just to connect in to our hearts and listen into what is emerging for each of us, and then start our conversation. So if you just want to take a few deep breaths together, close your eyes if that is appropriate for you wherever you are at. And taking a few deep breath in, full out breath. And another deep breath in. Really dropping down into our heart. Another deep breath in. And with our next exhale, just allowing our connection to the larger field of life to become present. So just allowing ourselves to drop down into the earth, to ground ourselves and to connect to the earth. That is really who we are. We are made up of the earth. We are a cell on her body. We are deeply connected and linked to the earth. So just allowing that dropping down to connect us to the center of the earth. Just imagine that this energy from the earth really moves up into us through that column of light that we are all grounded in. That's what's called the Sushumna, that central column of light that connects us deep to the earth, deep down to the earth, and also connects us to the other point of connection to the larger field of life, the cosmic energies. Just taking in a moment to really imagine that grounding at both ends. That flow of light that we are. We are so much more than the body. Just allowing that connection to that soul, that spirit that is having a human experience in the body, on the planet. To presence itself in your heart. And then from that heart, connect to the global heart around the circle. Perhaps even visualizing a circle of energy all around the world, since we are really centering around the planet. So sending energy to the right hand, and receiving energy to the left hand, and allowing that energy to deeply listen in to the heart, to what wants to emerge through our circle today, to what wants to be presenced, expressed, witnessed, be heard, be seen. And taking another deep breath, slowly reconnecting to your body, wherever you're sitting, respectfully, in the part of the world where you are calling in from. And taking another deep breath. And gradually coming back to the virtual space, and whenever you're ready, opening your eyes and connecting into the circle. And let's our voices be heard. Let's see what wants to be said. Who would like to chime in? Michelle, you're full in my face, so maybe you're the one to speak first.
Well, what did occur to me, one of the things that I do is I have Course in Miracles group meetings at my house on Fridays. And of course, Course in Miracles, the reason that we're here is to be truly helpful. And that he who sent us will direct us, which means take the divine energy and listen to what it says and tells us kind of what to do. And so last Friday, a friend of mine came, and she had studied Course in Miracles a while ago. Right now, she's really more of an atheist than anything else. And so she was here, and there was another lady here who I met just a couple of times. And she also is a Course in Miracles person. And it was a really amazingly interesting conversation because, with one, kind of Christian on one side and an atheist on the other, and then me, and I'm, open to everything. But at the end of the evening, we were talking about how we create our reality, but also how we create our experience of our reality. And the subtle differences there. But at the end of the evening, the lady who was the atheist said, "That was a great discussion. I love it that we can talk about these tough things and we're all leaving as friends." And I thought, that was wonderful. That truly validates what I want to do, which is bring people together who have very different ideas about faith or not faith, and have them not try to convert each other or convince each other that one side is right or the other side is not, but just to come together and talk and understand each other. And so that was one of the most successful meetings I've ever had, and there were only 3 of us there. I thought it was fantastic. And the other thing that I've been doing recently is I've been volunteering at a retreat center. There's a spiritual retreat center here that's owned and operated by the Catholic Diocese, but anyone can rent it out, and there are little cabins 48 little rooms, cabin-type rooms where people can stay overnight if it's a longer retreat than one day. And I've been helping out in the kitchen, serving meals and cleaning up afterwards. And I'm finding that wonderfully rewarding. The people who are there in retreat are very thankful that there are people there taking such good care of them. And that was funny because I was there last Saturday and Sunday morning, and it was a men's silent retreat what was going on. And after the breakfast on Sunday, one of the fellows came back to the kitchen and he said, "Can you come here a minute? We want you to come into our conference room." So there's a chef. He's a hired person. He works there all the time. And then whoever volunteers to help out shows up. So he and I went into the conference room, and we have about 30 or 40 men all standing up, giving us this standing ovation, and being very thankful and appreciative that we're there. And I was kind of joking, saying, "Well, it's the first time I've had a standing ovation on my kitchen skills." But it was really nice. It was just totally sweet. And again, more validation that that's where I'm supposed to be and that's what I'm supposed to be doing. So that's my last few days anyway.
Thank you.
I love these validations.
Yes, and what I'm hearing is that you are giving of yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
In that, by being called to serve there, that's where you felt guided to volunteer, and so you're giving of your time, and you're receiving so much more than what you're giving. I mean, that's kind of the picture I had, like a stand in the kitchen, that, and that is beautiful, you're giving of yourself, and
yeah, well, and it's like, again, it's kind of a follow-through in what the Course in Miracles says, which is your purpose for being here is to be truly helpful, and just to go where you're guided to go to be helpful, and that was really nice. Anyway, so yes, that's exactly it.
And this is an example of when you follow that guidance, and not the program that that tells you to be successful or to be whatever, you have to kind of earn that much money, or have this and this and this and this in place, and blah blah blah, all those things, which then confuses the message, and this that we are bombarded in our current society, and that's what is needed to be shifted, and it's by following that inner promptings and see where that leads us.
Yeah.
But I'm interested in what other people have to. How do you see that?
Yeah.
Harriet, you're unmuted. Maybe you want to.
Yes, I have to unmute myself. I'm on my iPad, so I'm a little bit lost, but okay. I can share what is coming up, feeling of deep gratitude for the healing I have had the last 2 weeks since we last time. Really deep childhood is really the earliest years, 0 to 3 years old, and what has happened there. And when that is released, and how all the relationships are changing, and the gratitude for getting this chance of starting to consciously create, because when you're not trapped in your patterns anymore. Talking about Aline in the beginning also about the self-judgment, and then you become free to really consciously create and also share, and then you can be more helpful because you have the courage to open more, as Michelle was doing. And it's wonderful how happy you look, because you have been, when you shared this, you had a very, very happy smile on your face. You looked very happy, and to be able to come out of your inner prison I have been working with my recovery of the soul, gather my pieces back, and again got wonderful help, which I couldn't have before, that I need this kind of help. And still it all comes to me. So because I'm open, I have prayed for the highest, to receive the highest good. And also now thinking of then, maybe I will soon be ready to share my work, and I don't know now where I'm guided to go, but trusting the divine essence, as you talked. That is the boss. Tell you where to go.
Yes, yes. You know what I'm hearing, Hayat, saying, I'm ready to soon share my message, you know, and it's also not wanting to force something that hasn't fully emerged. That's how I feel too, you know, and I might
Very true. Yeah.
have, you know, I've explored it to all angles and I've shared it in the past, but it was often coming from the head, you know, from what I knew it was, but had not fully integrated into my being, and expressed it from a holistic, like an integrated, you know, place. I think, you know, that's the best word that I can get right now, you know, and that's takes time. It takes time, you know, to get to that
Yeah.
integrated way of expressing yourself, instead of always coming from somewhere, from the head, you know, like this is the best I can express right now. There's probably another way to say it better another time, but right now that's what I'm. I don't hear you anymore, Hayat. You know, you're trying to say something, but your picture is frozen. Okay, now.
Yeah. So
now it's moving.
were yours?
I was frozen.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yes, you were frozen too. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Who would like to contribute their wisdom to the conversation? Bridget, you did I see you? Can you unmute yourself, Bridget, if you want to speak? You need to unmute yourself. Up on the top, you have a little button where you click and you unmute yourself. I had to mute everybody because there was so much noise coming, and I didn't know.
Okay.
We hear you. Yeah, we hear you.
Okay. So what I wanted to share was that every time when I'm working with people and I mention the word community, what I get in response is a real an opening, and increasingly in my coaching, I'm talking with people about why they do what they do and why I do what I do, and when I mention community, the energy changes, the energy in the room changes, and I know that people are really waking up to the need to be more in our communities, relating to the people around us, and doing work that's meaningful for those communities rather than any other kind of work. And I'm finding it really very rewarding and joyful. So I just wanted to share that.
Yes, to be in community.
They really respond when I talk, when I mention that word, and the energy shifts. So it's it's noticing energy shifts at that time is really what I'm noticing.
Mm-hmm. And can you speak more to what is evoked when the word community is expressed, and what resonates? What would you say is what resonates? Is it the fact that, go ahead.
Sorry, my sense is that there is that there is relief. There's a sense of, oh, that's good. It'll be okay. Not to have to strive to make this really, really big business that, and measure the results against the normal measures, if you like. But how effective will my work be in creating this community? The faces relax and they smile, and there is that change of it'll be okay to build my business to serve, and it'll be okay to build my business not so that it makes us lots and lots of money, but just so that I can serve the people that I'm in business to serve. So does that make sense?
Absolutely, yes. It's what I'm hearing is like we are not alone when we are connecting in a community. Then you have feedback, and you whatever you do, you will get a response or not, or you can adjust your course. You're not on your own. You don't have to get this all by yourself. You don't have to get it right. And that's kind of what I'm, what I'm seeing, that for a long time, it's like I didn't get myself out there because I haven't gotten it right. I haven't gotten every pieces together, etc. And that's ego. That is not allowing that emergence through the community, like you said, through because it's only when we are in a circle of people that you can connect to something, and you can explore something. It's not about having it all worked out and figured out, but it's about that's what I'm getting from what you're saying. It's about allowing that emergence of what I'm giving, to be expressed, and see how it gets received, and then you have a feedback. You don't have to it's not a hit or miss. It's almost like a collective work that is helping the
yes, and
oops.
Yeah.
I can hear you.
I'm getting feedback.
Okay, I'm going to mute Michelle. I don't know why Michelle. I see only Michelle. Usually, when the person speaks, it comes on the screen, but it's Michelle. I don't know what happened. A glitch, I guess, again. But it doesn't matter. We love Michelle having being full screen all the time.
So the word that I use a lot also is with joy. And if the work isn't bringing them joy, then I'm really encouraging them to pause. And this pausing, pausing to allow. And if there isn't joy, then why would you keep doing it? I'm really conscious of um, the power of joy to guide us towards what is the thing that we are called to do, rather than, because I don't believe this. I don't believe in right at all. There isn't anything that's right. I think that's a word that is crept into our language that is that causes a lot of confusion because people want to do things right, but there's only the doing of things that that sits joyfully in our hearts, and when what we're doing sits joyfully in our hearts, then I think we're following the guidance that is there. And I love it when people respond to that language and to those concepts, and I find it very, I mean, it brings me great joy every day.
Yeah, you said it very beautifully. What brings you joy? And this is probably the first time in the last 5 weeks that I have dared to really stop everything except what brings me joy and what I feel guided to do. And I do trust that what is, what needs to emerge out of that will emerge when it is ready to emerge. I am observing in that experience all the parts of the old program, but I am not doing anything about it. I'm just observing it, and remain steady in my experiment of doing only what I feel called to do, instead of what I have to do, which is the program again. And that has been, it has been actually very rewarding, because I'm not in a community in France here. I'm actually kind of voluntarily isolated, and in a retreat. But I go out every day, and I speak to everybody I meet. I greet them, I have conversations, and actually quite lovely conversations, sometimes about their dog or whatever, and it's a heart connection, instead of just going about my day being busy and not having time for that, just doing my sports and etc. No, it's actually lovely, connecting with people at the cashiers at the grocery store. It's like having heart connections. That's what is emerging for me, like really, really deeply connecting to all kinds of people, and not letting the, like, that the stigma of the difference of the other person kind of create that filter of how I interact with that person. No, totally in the same way, whoever that person is. It could be like a bum, or it could be like a very young, or and some people don't look at you. Some people are not at that level. They're just closed down. But sometimes when you greet them, they kind of wake up and they respond, sometimes with a little bit delay. So it's been very interesting to observe this, and it's all something that I can generate from within. It's me who's creating that, because if I weren't doing it, most likely nobody would speak to me, because people usually don't speak to each other. So it's interesting, because that experience that experiment that I'm doing is leading me in realizing some very profound human experiences with strangers.
Yes.
Okay, you have to mute yourself, Michelle. I had to mute you. Okay, I'm going to mute myself so the quality is better.
Well, what just occurred to me when you were talking about your experience with strangers is that, I mean, the way that we really get to know ourselves is by observing other people and what they reflect back to us. And it occurs to me, I mean, what a wonderful thing to do to interact with strangers, because when you're interacting with your friends, we're sometimes, but most, we expected a particular response. And if we don't get the response we expect, then we get angry or we get upset or we feel offended. But in your interactions with total strangers, it seems to me that it offers like a blank slate, and you don't have any expectation of what you may or may not receive from them, and so you can kind of see yourself even more clearly that way. And I mean, that is just so wonderful. I love that. I think that's a really marvelous thing. And I kind of do too. If I'm in the grocery store, if I'm walking down the street, you know, I say hi to people on the street, or I, you know, kind of talk to the person at the grocery store a little bit. But we can be a little bit more free when we do that, because we don't have this investment that we want to make sure this person likes us and continues to like us. And I think maybe that freedom allows a little bit more authenticity. So I think what you're talking about is just marvelous. I love that. So that was all.
Thank you. And you know, when you were saying that, when you were reflecting upon that, I remember that when I was younger, and my mother was very self-expressive, you know, and always talking to strangers, I would want to hide somewhere. It was like, you know, she would have conversations with anybody, and I didn't want to know her, you know. It's like, you know, because it's, you know, when you're younger, and now I'm doing the same thing, and sometimes noticing that my daughter, when she is with me here, at the beginning, but then she realizes she's switched very quickly, you know. Then she realized how people reacted, you know, and they're very friendly and open, and we had a conversation on something, even meaningful something, even if I didn't know them, and then she participated in the conversation. So that's actually a shift from where I was at when I was younger. But that's just what came up for me when you were saying that, you know, remembering how I used to react when my mother was doing that, you know. Yeah.
Right.
Yes,
I think for me, what you're saying is always relevant, what everybody's saying, but it's the acceptance part as well, and the trusting. I had to do some jury service recently, and I was going back into a sort of conformist type environment, and I had just such a magical experience, because I was accepting all different people from different walks of life, and accepting myself and my vulnerability of not knowing the process, and, you know, not really knowing what was going to happen. And we had such deep conversations with people. And afterwards, there was like a gentleman in the street, and I was able to have a conversation with him. And there was that acceptance of where he was and where I was and the injustice, but there wasn't anger. There was some sort of balance coming through. You know, I was able to not have too much judgment about the waste of money in the court system, but realizing that I was looking at it from a different, perhaps the word is observing it from a different angle. And today as well, quite in synchronicity for tonight, I just felt there was such a lot of trust around me. You know, I just feel as if I'm sort of starting to feel, making my sort of usual affirmance and my intentions for the new moon. I've normally got a big list of things, but today, when I asked, I just have the intention to be love in every moment. And this morning when I was taking my husband, and it was a chore that I didn't particularly want to do, it was in the middle of Cardiff, it was very chaotic. I just had this moment, I looked to the right-hand side and there was a man there and he was putting his rubbish bin out and he looked at me and I smiled and we just had this really strong connection and I waved and he waved back and that was the highlight of my day. So I'm really relating to what you're saying as well about the business aspects, you know, very strategic. I know all, you know, what to do, and I've got my business plan, but that isn't really what's important. And so it was quite synchronistic and very simplistic for me just to have this one intention instead of, because I trust that all the other intentions and all the other vision boards and all the dreams that I've put out there, if they're meant to come to fruition, we will do. And it won't be as my old patterned way has imagined. So that's I'm in tune with what everybody is sharing about community and actually stepping out there. And when you are your true essence, that's wonderful things happen. And I remember that I've always been like that. I just started to get, when I started to do business things, I started to try and conform. But being in the court really helped me, and I knew that that was me being shown something very special. So I'm very grateful for that experience. That's what I wanted to share.
Thank you, Fiona. And what I'm hearing is like the more you accept yourself and don't want to conform to something out there, you know, that kind of a programmed way of doing things, you know, business way or cultural way or family way or whatever it is, you know, the more you are able to accept the difference in another one and have that heart connection, which doesn't even need to have words, you know. I mean, what struck me when you were saying is like that waving to a being, you know, because you saw another person and you didn't judge that person. You really connected, you know, and that's beautiful.
Yeah, well, it was really special, and it was strange because my husband, who's been the person that I've always felt, you know, has been a bit of a barrier up until now, you know, he didn't even know this was happening, and I think that's what happened with that man on the street. Everybody was rushing around, and they didn't. It's as if I was just in a time zone, you know. I was just in that sort of space that my childhood space that I used to go to, my place of innocence, and I think that perhaps it's natural time, whatever. It was just a beautiful space to be in, and you know, that's what I'm really asking for, is to have that more and more and more, just live in that moment of just being love. If that felt like love today. Yeah.
It is. It is, you know, and that's what's emerging for me. I mean, it's actually, I don't think it's a unique thing for a lot of us. It's something that is actually emerging more and more in the world, and it's being felt, and we are experiencing it in our group, you know. But it's actually something that I'm hearing being shared by many people, that this is really that connection to who we really are, that essence is what is emerging in people now in this time in the world.
I think as well, it can be in a chaotic situation. You know, it can be in a situation where I was driving, it was busy, there was lots of traffic, and I had that magical space and was safe. So yes, it's very powerful and beautiful.
Thank you, Fiona.
Thank you.
I'm just looking at the time, and I'm wondering if Viviane or Heidi would like to also speak, because you've been patiently listening in. So
I can just
yeah,
say
go ahead.
a little bit. I have a slightly different topic, but I'm following it. It makes joy what I'm doing, because for me learning is joy, and not being able to go on because I don't know enough has always been very painful for me in the last year, let's say, no? When I tried to create something and I always got stuck with the means, with the tools. So I'm talking about my virtual assistant who is there and not there. And often I try to contact her and nothing. And I couldn't figure it out for myself, these things, how to do it with the website and stuff. And then I told you, Aline, I have found this community, and I'm there for 18 days, and I have learned so much, and I'm so excited. It's like in the first days of Google, when I was so excited to have found Google Plus and all these connections and helping each other. That was this the big thing there, no? That everybody was willing to help the others, including me. I mean, it was a giving and taking. And the same I find there, and especially for creating websites, not only creating websites, but giving you the hints how they can rank in Google. So you learn all this. And I never knew how these things work. And my websites, nobody finds them ever. So when we are talking about giving our work out into the world, and I'm not like many of you in person, because yes, nobody around me, I'm always around on internet. I need to have a way that people find what I'm doing. So I'm so completely excited that I seem to have found it, because there are people who are helping you in an incredible way. So now I feel that I can even learn all this website stuff, you know, which I never thought I would ever do. And I'm happy. Although, you know, 3 years ago still, I thought somebody else has to do that for me. And I have found out nobody is doing it really for you. They are doing something, but not really. You have to be behind that if you want to be found, you know. And so I'm getting the means, and I hope I will never be as frustrated as I was this past year, because I couldn't go on because I didn't get answers. So that's my good experience of the last 2.5 years, months.
Yes, and yeah, Michelle is applauding you. You know, she's muted, but I really want to, you know, to really acknowledge you, because that joy, you're doing what brings you joy. And that's what we're talking about, really, you know?
Yeah. You know, but it's not really in itself the joy that I learn it, but it's not really a thing I would like to work on my whole life, you know? But the joy to have found the means to make it happen, what my real intent is, you know?
Yes.
It's a sort of opening. Also, I have to go through, I mean, it's like in a vegetable garden. You like to plant, but then you don't like to take out the weeds and every day go out and give water and things. That is sort of, you know. But then the harvest is wonderful. And so for me, it's this, learning these technical stuff. It's not joy in itself, but having learned it and be able to use it, this is the joy.
Yes. You know, and, you know, like, you're the one who introduced me to this Google Plus thing, you know, I don't know, like, almost 2 years ago now, whenever, you shared those things. So I'm not saying no to what you have proposed, but right now it's like I still need to follow wherever this is leading me, This might be something that I'm also jumping in at one point, but I just not choosing to jump onto everything right now.
You don't have to. It's only I went in my head, who could use that, and I said to the people who I thought who could have the same, aha, now I can do it, who are struggling like me all the time. And so you were one of the 3 or 4 people I sent it to,
No, and I appreciate it because you have definitely been helping me. I mean, how many times did I call you when I was stuck at the beginning? How do you do those hangouts?
Yeah.
And I was, so many times I called you before. I said, how do you do this again? And you were always there. That you were always there to help. So I do appreciate, absolutely. Thank you for offering that. And I want to acknowledge that, you radiate right now. And that's what we're talking about, following what brings you joy. And that's really the topic seems to be today,
Good. Thank you.
Thank you. Viviane, would you like to tell us something? You have to unmute yourself. Yeah, okay.
Well, I've been following my joy for a long time. I think for me, joy can be just being in this moment, right here, right now, with my animals, or just being aware that this moment will never come again. La douceur du moment, the sweetness of this moment, which will never reproduce itself. So I've been doing this for most of my life, I guess, because of my my assiduous meditation practice twice a day, which takes me into those areas where I have to be totally present. And so what I have found is that it's really interesting in the sense that if you stay with a negative feeling for 10 minutes at the most, it'll be gone. It'll dissipate. And this is what has transpired for me. Last time we were together, there were only 3 of us, I think, and I couldn't stop laughing hysterically. Do you remember? You remember? And I was just in the moment, and everything was ludicrous, and I would just burst into laughter, and I couldn't stop. And every time I think about that, I laugh again out loud, whether I'm by myself or not. So joy comes from just tapping into that part within us that is always there, and I believe in that. And so it's not anything new that I'm doing, but it's helpful to remember when I'm feeling grief that I can also enjoy my life and feel the laughter and the joy and look at the funny part of everything, because there's always a funny part. Anyways, I was thinking about the song that Gilbert Bécaud wrote, Et maintenant, que vais-je faire? Maintenant que tu es parti, de tous ces gens qui m'indiffèrent, maintenant que sera ma vie? Toutes ces nuits, pourquoi, pour qui? Et ce matin qui revient pour rien, mon cœur qui bat, pour qui, pourquoi, qui bat trop fort, trop fort. And so, it's about being in the moment and understanding that even though there has been a big loss, that we can always come back to this moment, Sorry if I bored you with my music.
It was beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
You have a beautiful voice.
Oh, thank you. I miss singing. I used to go to karaoke every Friday night, and there was a man there who started harassing me, personally harassing me. And so I stopped going, you know, but I haven't found a place where people don't get drunk, you know, and are welcoming, and you can sing your heart out. And I just love to sing for myself. I don't have to have an audience, but it's nicer when you can go to a place and you know, hear others who are singing and be able to share your own singing with them. I just haven't found it. Maybe in where you are, there's a good place for karaoke. Right?
I've never been drawn
I
to.
have to come and visit you.
Yeah. See, I have one of those complexes about singing because you know, my mother used to sing at home, and whenever I would try to sing, I would always have like a first note, you know, the wrong tone or something, and then of course, you know, I was raised in a culture of judgment, you know. So, you know, so singing is not my forte, and it's not where I would choose to perform myself.
Aline, this is my specialty.
I know, I know.
You have to come and see me.
Yeah, you have another singer, Viviane. Heidi is an opera singer, you know.
Oh, well, an opera singer is completely different. I am not trained at all. I just love music, and I just I know how to sing in terms of for myself. I'm just a crooner, and I love to do that, and you know, people appreciate that in me. So I miss it. I miss it a lot.
Yeah. Not everybody needs to sing opera, but the capacity to express yourself through your voice, this is so important.
Yes. Yes, it's true.
And it's a lack if somebody doesn't dare. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, ladies. We are really, our hour is gone fast this time. And I noticed that Bridget kind of left us. She probably had trouble with her phone. She was on her boat, so she might be viewing on Google because I see somebody is viewing. She might have just listened in. So thank you for having come and joined the Women's Wisdom Circle and really sharing our presence with each other, because that's what I see it is, you know. And out of being who we are together and not needing to perform in a certain way and or conform to a certain way of doing things or of being, it helps us to be more of who we are. Each of us, you know, find that voice. Not everybody will sing here, you know. I know we already had Liz sang us at one point a few weeks ago, you know, and today was Viviane. So I really appreciate the spontaneous expression, because that's really what it's all about, you know, when you are connected to that heart and that guidance and allowing that emergence. It's, you know, it's the space of miracles. You know, that's what you started to share, you know, at the beginning, Michelle, and we're ending there, but that's the space, really. So if you want to say something to conclude, otherwise we'll be closing the space and seeing you again in a couple of weeks on the full moon.
Just it was really wonderful to see everybody. Mwah.
Thank you, Michelle. Okay.
Thanks, everyone. It was wonderful, as always.
Nice to see you again. Yeah. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, Viviane. Heidi.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Hayat. All right.